Good evening and welcome to the Paranormal Lens podcast, hosted by Jott-Nyx Paranormal. I'm Chad Thomas with my co-host over there, Jamie Widener, and I got it right this time.
You sure did. Nice.
So, how are you
2
doing
years
today?
later, we figured it out.
I'll forget next time. So, how are you doing tonight, Jamie?
It's been a day, dude. It's been a week and 2 days already. So, but all is well. We're here. Let's do some paranormal spooky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out. So, how
Mm-hmm.
about you? What's going on?
It's been a week. Been a week. We got to spend some time together on Saturday
We did.
for the
We
first time in like
socialized. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
while. So,
Yeah.
um,
So, but before we get there, and there's a lot to share, I think,
mhm.
from where we were and what we did. But I want to take a moment to acknowledge something that unfortunately happened today that we found out about today. One of our former teammates, Justin Habershon or Jay Habershon, we found out has passed away, and um, all too real of a moment for someone who went way too young and has left behind a wonderful fiance and beautiful family. And our thoughts and prayers and all the positivity we could possibly send goes to Courtney and her family in this time. And damn, this sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
um,
I, th-
tonight, everybody find that person you love and give them a hug. We don't know how much time we have left, and
yeah,
it'll all be too short for what we want to do. So,
yeah,
enjoy the moment.
yeah. Like I think, the team said, this one hits hard.
Yeah, really did. So, okay, something fun though,
Now that we have
perhaps.
that out of the way,
Transition, segue, right?
yeah, so,
Um, did you do what I did on Saturday? Is that what you said? You
I
did?
think so because I ran into you somewhere.
Oh, you did. That's right. That's right. Yep. There's proof.
Yeah.
Um, so Chad and I separately, but linking there, went to the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash in a place called Gettysburg. I mean, it's in the name, so it must be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the Eisenhower Hotel, and what an interesting day in a good way.
Uh-huh.
Um, you got to see a lot of people that we haven't seen in quite a while. Some people we know but haven't met before, and got to see a lot of cool stuff
Mm-hmm.
related to the paranormal.
Yeah.
Um, and all things paranormal for that matter. Some fascinating information, um, some just cool stuff around. So
Mm-hmm.
I really had a fun afternoon. I didn't get to stay all day. I got there like 12:30. I had to leave at 4. I didn't leave till 4:45. I was trying to say goodbye, and then you're just the first goodbye, second goodbye, maybe third goodbye, and then you're finally at the door. You just keep moving slowly.
Well,
Um,
then you had to stop and buy a shirt.
I had to stop and get a shirt, and there was a process to that. Apparently, you just can't pay for it. You got to go over there and pay for it, and then you got to come back with a ticket. I mean, it was a thing. Well,
Uh-huh.
I have a shirt. I have a shirt, so
So.
I can prove I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had an investigation Saturday night, so it was a lot of it was a full paranormal day
Yeah, we did. It was a
experience.
good. It was an interesting night investigating too. So.
Yeah, it was. Well, before we get to that, what your thoughts on the bash? Anything you want to share?
No, it was great to see so many of our paranormal friends, and just we don't get to see everybody enough, and it's great that there's activities like that we can go to and just catch up. I know
Yeah,
Stacy was out and not able to make it this year, but hopefully next year. I know that we all have a lot going on, so when we can, we get together.
yeah.
So, but yeah, and
Todd
I'm
was
glad.
there. Todd and Carmela.
Yep,
Um,
I'm glad
got
everybody
to
came
spend a little
out
bit of time.
tonight. Yep. So. But yeah, the investigation was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
We have some people who've been joining us doing research, and they were with us again um, Saturday. I don't know much about that. You talked to him a lot more than I did. I don't know if you have.
yeah. So, well, I don't know what I'm allowed to say, or I mean, I'm not like it's a secret. Sorry,
Right,
but I don't know what I can say because I don't think I know much either.
right.
He is a professor at Penn State University, and his research assistant, who are, I believe he's a professor of folklore. And I have his card, and I should have it in my hand right now. Dang it! Um, but they've been joining us periodically through probably the better part of a year
Hmm.
to do interviews with us as team members, interested in the paranormal, and guests at our public events, if they're willing.
Right.
And and also sharing information like just hey, if you don't want to do it here, you can contact us separately. Well, it's like an interview. You sit down, you are asked opinions and questions related to things around the paranormal field, and I think that the encapsulation of all of it is just to connect a lot of the dots for what the field is and
Right.
it's perceived in the public. And I think it's safe to say that we are a pseudoscience to many and most outside of our bubble, of
Hmm.
individuals who are in the field. So maybe opening some eyes and some ears, from the academic world, to give us a better view or be
Right.
better viewed
Right.
out there in the world. So that's my hope anyway. I'm
Right.
putting words to his mouth, I guess, but in his plan perhaps even. But and I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see.
Right. The good news is we're going to have him on the show sometime in the future. I don't want to say near future, but he's agreed to come on the show and talk to us about what he's doing. So,
Yeah, and the interest in how he got here, and I as a folklore a professor in the folklore field, I can't tell you how many episodes we've done or how much is out there that's based on folklore, right?
right.
And there's a direct connect in my mind, at least. There's a direct connect that would be fascinating to see how he got where he is. To take it to the academic level, um,
Right.
and now physically in the field as well. So
Hmm.
where the parallels and connects are, and opportunities, perhaps even for
Yeah.
more.
So,
So stay tuned. That's coming. That'll be later in the end of summer, fall kind of window.
hmm.
We're booked a little ways out, and his schedule has to open up as well. But more to come on that.
Yeah. But other than that, it was an interesting night. I had a lot of activity. I've had a lot more activity than I've had in a long time. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you and I were working together, so
Yep. Well,
um,
except for that one session.
that's okay. You were
I
there.
got I literally got sidetracked by the professor asking me questions and in the ballroom, and I kept looking over and just making sure everybody was okay, and you were leading everyone like you normally would
Hmm.
perfectly well. So I felt comfortable enough to answer his questions quickly, and questions led to questions led to questions. So
Hmm.
and then time was up. So go figure. But I
But
heard a lot of activity happening around equipment
hmm.
with your session there specifically, and I'm sure that's part of what you're saying.
Right.
But the bar as well, we had some interesting activity, and in the bar itself, and in the original Alois bar, I thought that was interesting because I at least haven't had much activity there for quite a while.
Right.
Um, at least not consistent,
Right.
pops of things here and there. But
And
you has a dead bell, and that was active, and
right.
tripwire was active.
And the thing is, it wasn't Alois, which when we get activity in the bar, it's typically Alois. This
Yeah,
wasn't Alois, so it
I
was
agree.
great.
Absolutely.
So we got some new names to research and look into, and
Absolutely. Yeah,
um,
that's so cool. I
so
mean, we haven't been in. We missed last month. With there was another engagement happening, so we didn't have our normal monthly cycle. So we've been away for a little while. Perhaps absence makes the heart go fonder, right?
yeah, something
Um,
like that. We'll go with
something
that.
like that. Right? I mean, I feel like why not? But
Right.
um, there was, that might be part of it to say we were just, there was a pause or a rest. So hopefully we can continue that engagement. Oh,
Hmm.
cool, Linda. That's great. We'll see you there on the 9th as well. All right, the 9th or the 19th?
Well, the ninth, I think they have a private, maybe.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's correct. Okay. Yes, we'll see you there.
So, so anyway, yeah, there's a lot going on. So it was good investigation. We had some new people with us who are sort of hanging out with us for the night, working with us, and that was a good experience for us. And sort of teaching one on one a little bit, and it was is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And and as always, the groups got smaller as the night went on. So
Oh,
there
we
was a
we,
very,
we lost a
very
group of six during the first after the first investigation. So that group went
we
from 10
lost
to
two at
four.
the first one, and they were both very apologetic that they didn't plan well, and not say plan well enough, but they didn't plan ahead for the
Right.
time. But they guaranteed they'd be back because they were very intrigued. And that the first session was in the bar. We had a lot of activity, so that's a hook, to
Hmm.
say, hey, why not come back and hope to see him again.
Yeah.
2 a.m. is 2 a.m., right? No matter what. So, um,
Exactly.
whew,
So,
intrepid investigators by the end. And I know some were staying on property, which made it a lot easier, of course. But
Hmm.
yeah,
So,
well, anybody's been to the field, if you know, you know.
yeah. So,
That getting home is the thing.
so, well, should we move on to what I prepared tonight, Jamie?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
sure, of course.
All right. Well, here we go. um, I just got to do this first.
You're
Here we go.
selling it so well.
All right. So, Annabelle,
Yeah.
right? So, almost everyone in the paranormal world has heard of Annabelle, the infamous haunted doll from Ed and Lorraine Warren's Occult Museum. But recently, Annabelle has stepped beyond the world of the paranormal enthusiast and into the spotlight of mainstream media, with coverage in outlets like NBC News, People Magazine, Newsweek, and the New York Post. So, what's behind this surge in attention? Several things are at play. On July 4th of this year, Annabelle Rises, the fourth installment of the Annabelle movie series, a spin off of the Conjuring movie series, was released, reigniting public fascination with the doll. At the same time, Annabelle is currently on tour through the New England Society for Psychic Research, making appearances across the country. One of their most recent stops was Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Tragically, during that stop, Dan Rivera, who was traveling with Annabelle as part of the tour, unexpectedly passed away in his hotel room. Now, I want to be clear. I had planned to cover this topic after Annabelle was scheduled to visit Gettysburg, but before Dan's passing. I want to extend my heartfelt condolences to his family, friends, and the team at NESPR. Dan was an integral part of their work and will be deeply missed. His death, however, has quickly become entwined with the legend of Annabelle in a way that highlights how easily the line between fact and fear can be blurred. Tonight, I'll try to unpack the truth behind the headlines, revisit Annabelle's origins, and explore how folklore, fear, and the media continue to shape her legacy. Now, to truly understand the story behind Annabelle, we need to go back, way back, to the year 1915. It was on May 28th of that year when an artist named John Gruelle applied for a patent for a ragdoll prototype. Just a few weeks later, on June 17th, he submitted a trademark registration for the name Raggedy Ann, a name inspired by combining lines from two poems by James Whitcomb Riley, The Raggedy Man and Little Orphan Annie. The U.S. Patent Office approved Gruelle's design on September 7th, and the name Raggedy Ann was officially trademarked on November 23rd, 1915. Gruelle, a talented illustrator and storyteller, published his first children's book featuring the doll in 1918. For the next 2 decades, he would release one new book each year, building a rich and whimsical world around Raggedy Ann. As her literary fame grew, so did the presence in the toy world. The P.F. Volan Company began mass producing the doll, and in 1920, Raggedy Andy, her male counterpart, was introduced to the world. Remember Raggedy Andy?
Of course.
Do you have one, Jamie?
No, I
I,
don't believe so. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure we had one floating around our house for a while.
oh,
So
it must have been Eric's then. Sure.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So even after Gruelle's death in 1938, the legacy of Raggedy Ann continued. His widow took up the mantle of promoting the characters, and by the close of the 1940s, over 7 million Raggedy Ann related books had been printed. In the 1960s, the Knickerbocker Toy Company began manufacturing the dolls, continuing until Hasbro acquired the brand around 1977. And it's right in the middle of this timeline, somewhere between the innocence of childhood nostalgia and the shadow of the unknown, that our story truly begins. So we're going to turn our attention to about 1970, 1971. By this time, the Raggedy Ann doll was a beloved staple in American homes, widely available in toy stores and catalogs across the country. In fact, the 1975 Montgomery Ward catalog featured a 38.5-inch Raggedy Ann for just $19.88. It's pretty steep at that, for that time.
Yeah.
It was one of these simple, oversized dolls, a simple birthday gift purchased by a loving mother for her 28-year-old daughter, a nursing student, that would unknowingly become the center of one of the most infamous and unsettling paranormal legends in modern history. No one could have imagined that a $20 doll would become known around the world as Annabelle. Now, it's believed that Donna's mother purchased the rag doll at a secondhand store in Hartford, Connecticut, some in that area. When Donna received the doll, she didn't think too much about it. It may have laid on her bed for a while, but it didn't take too long for her and her roommate Angie to realize that something was different about the doll. It seemed that the doll would move around the apartment on its own. The doll would be left on the bed and then later found on the sofa. The doll would also change positions. It may have been left sitting on a chair, and then would come back to find it with its legs crossed or lying on its side. At first, the two women thought that it might have an intruder, but as things happened, their thoughts turned to the paranormal. According to the New Haven Register, they began to find notes written on parchment paper saying things like, "Help me" or "Help us." The woman claimed that they didn't have any parchment paper in the apartment. That's not something most people have laying around.
Yeah.
Then there was the night that Donna found Annabelle had moved onto her bed. This was normal at this point in time, but Donna felt something was different. As she looked the doll over, she noticed what looked like blood drops on the back of the doll's hand and chest. This hadn't been there before, so where had they come from? This event was enough for Donna to seek help. She reached out to a medium to see if they could find out what was going on. The medium agreed to hold a seance. It was in this seance that the medium told Donna and Angie that the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins had inhabited the doll. The story that she told them was that Annabelle's body had been found on the site where the apartment building was eventually built. The medium told them that the spirit was benevolent and just wanted to be loved and cared for. The medium didn't sense any danger, so the two nurses felt bad for the spirit and gave it permission to take up permanent residence in the doll. Angie's boyfriend, Lou, had been around ever since the doll came into Donna's home. But he didn't feel comfortable with the doll, and he suggested that it was evil and they should get rid of it. Donna liked the doll and felt she needed to take care of Annabelle, so she dismissed Lou's input and kept the doll. Lou had been having recurring dreams about the doll that were not very good. One night when Lou awoke from a deep sleep, he was panicked. According to TonySpira.com, who has the original investigation files, it was though he was awake, but he couldn't move. As he looked around the room, nothing seemed to be out of place until he looked towards his feet and he saw the doll, Annabelle, was slowly gliding up his leg, moving over his chest, and then stopped. It was at this point that the doll began to strangle him. Unable to move, he couldn't defend himself, and he was gasping for breath. Lou eventually blacked out from asphyxiation. When he woke up the next morning, he was sure that this was more than a dream and was even more determined than ever to get rid of the doll. Unfortunately for Lou, this wasn't his last experience with Annabelle. Lou and Angie were preparing for a road trip in the apartment while Donna was out. They heard a noise from Donna's room that sounded like someone else was in the apartment. So he waited for the noise to stop and then opened the door to Donna's room and turned the lights on. He found the room to be empty except for Annabelle, who'd been tossed in the corner on the floor. He looked around to see if anyone had broken in, but everything seemed to be normal. Or was it? As he got closer to Annabelle, he had the feeling someone was behind him. So he spun around to see that no one was there, but he felt a searing pain in his chest that caused him to double over. His shirt was bloodstained, and when he opened it, he found 7 claw marks on his chest. There were 3 vertical and 4 horizontal, and they were hot like he'd been burned. Now, as strange as that was, 2 days later, there were no signs of the marks to be found. So finally, I think I would have been convinced a little earlier, but this was finally enough to convince Donna that maybe something should be done. So she reached out to an Episcopal priest. Oh, I lost my place. She reached out to an Episcopal priest named Father Hagen for help. Father Hagen decided it was a spiritual matter that he could not handle and reached out to someone higher in the church named Father Cook. Cook knew of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the work that they did and immediately reached out to them for their advice and help. Upon hearing of the case, the Warrens spoke to Donna, Angie, and Lou and came to the conclusion that the doll was not possessed, but it was being manipulated by an inhuman presence. The Warrens believed that spirits do not possess inanimate objects such as houses and toys. They possess people. And according to the Warrens, and I quote, an inhuman spirit can attach itself to a place or an object and this is what occurred in Annabelle's case. This spirit manipulated the doll and created the illusion of it being alive in order to get recognition. Truly, the spirit was not looking to stay attached to the doll. It was looking to possess a human host. The spirit, or in this case, inhuman demonic spirit, was essentially an infestation stage of the phenomenon. It first began moving the doll around the apartment by means of teleportation to arouse the occupants' curiosity in hopes that they could give it recognition. Then, predictably, the mistake of bringing a medium into the apartment to communicate with it, the inhuman spirit, now able to communicate through the medium, preyed on the girl's emotional vulnerabilities by pretending to be a rather harmless, lost young girl, with which during the seance was allowed permission from Donna to haunt the apartment. Insofar as demonic is a negative spirit, it then set about causing patently negative phenomena to occur. It aroused fear through the weird movements of the doll. It brought about the materialization of disturbing handwritten notes, the symbolic drops of blood on the doll, and ultimately it even attacked Lou, leaving behind the symbolic mark of the beast. The next stage of the infestation phenomena would have been complete human possession. Had these experiences lasted another 2 or 3 more weeks, the spirit would have completely possessed, if not harmed or killed, one of or all of the occupants in the house. Now that's a mouthful, and that's done. And this is Ed and Lorraine's opinion of what happened. So they were the leading researchers at the time. So what would you have done at this point, Jamie?
Got out.
Right. So the Warrens felt it best at the end of the investigation for Father Cook to cleanse the apartment by reciting the exorcism blessing. Now, the Episcopal blessing of the home is a very wordy 7-page document that is very positive in nature, and I found this really interesting. The focus of the ritual is to fill the home with positive power in God instead of trying to expel the evil entities from the property. According to sources that I read, Father Cook was not comfortable with being an exorcist, but he did complete the rite throughout the apartment. The Warrens were confident that the evil entity could no longer reside there. To be safe, Donna requested that the doll be removed from the property, and Ed agreed to take it home with him. Now, I wonder how Lorraine felt about this. So he put the doll in the back seat of the car and decided it would be best not to take highways home. This turned out to be a good idea. The entity in the doll had developed a hatred for Ed and Lorraine. The car would swerve on some corners and curves and then stall on others. When it stalled, it would lose power steering and power brakes. They avoided several collisions. After doing this for a while, Ed reached into his bag for holy water. He doused the doll, made the sign of the cross over it. When he did this, things settled down immediately, and the Warrens were able to arrive home safely. The doll ended up in Ed's office on a chair next to his desk. After it had first arrived, the doll levitated several times, but then things seemed to stop. After a few weeks, Annabelle must have gotten comfortable and began to move between different rooms of the house. When they traveled, the Warrens would lock her up in an outer office building. Several times, they returned to find her waiting for them in Ed's easy chair as they entered the house. Priest and Annabelle didn't get along very well. Here's another quote from Tony Sparrow's website. In one instance, Father Jason Bradford, a Catholic exorcist, came to the house. Upon seeing the seated doll in the chair, he picked it up and said, "You're just a rag doll, Annabelle. You can't hurt anyone." And he tossed the doll back into the chair, at which Ed at which point Ed exclaimed, "That's one thing you better not say." Upon leaving an hour later, Lorraine pleaded for the priest to please be careful driving and to call her when she arrived home. Lorraine discerned tragedy for this young priest, but he had to go his way. A few hours later, Father Jason called Lorraine and explained that his brakes had failed as he entered a busy intersection. He was involved in a near fatal accident, destroying his vehicle. This is just one of the many events that occurred over the next few years.
Heather just said this perfectly. Nope, 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 no.
So, Annabelle's permanent home became a specially built wooden case inside the occult museum. Once inside the case, she didn't seem to move. According to the Warrens, she still did cause some harm to at least two more people. A young couple visited the museum on a motorcycle. After hearing Ed's describe the story of the doll, the man went up and banged on the case and taunted the doll to scratch him if she could. Ed told the man that he needed to leave and sent him out of the building. On the way home, the couple was laughing and making fun of Annabelle when they lost control of the motorcycle and ran head on into a tree. The man was killed instantly, and the girlfriend spent over a year in the hospital recovering. When asked what happened, the woman explained that they were laughing about the doll when they lost control. Ed warns that you do not challenge evil, that no man is more powerful than Satan. So, Ed and Lorraine have since passed. The museum has been permanently closed since it was actually zoned in a residential area, and no variances had been issued. So there was no way for them to legally keep it open and running once the people, the Ed and Lorraine, were not there to do it. Now, the museum is currently owned and managed by Tony Spera, who is the Warrens' son-in-law. Though they aren't allowed to be open to the public, items from the museum are occasionally displayed at paranormal events. This year, Annabelle has been on the Devils on the Run tour, which started in May and is scheduled to have stops through October. After that, she will return to Connecticut, hopefully for good. Now, Annabelle has been the basis for the Conjuring movies franchise, which include at least 4 movies. The latest of that franchise will be released later this year, and the spin-off Annabelle movie series has, as I said earlier, has had a movie already released this year. The simple rag doll has turned into one of the most notorious paranormal items. It is known around the world. Is it because of evil that is believed to be in the doll? Or is it simply because of the movies, which changed it to a porcelain doll, sensationalized it to the public, and made Annabelle a household name? We may never know, but as far as I'm concerned, it is not something that I want to mess with. I put it right up there with Ouija boards. I want nothing to do with them. People who know that I am into the paranormal ask me what I think about the Gettysburg situation. My first reply to them is that Dan was a father, husband, and son. His family needs us to remember that. He was doing a job that took him away from his home, and unfortunately, he passed away alone in his hotel room. I don't believe that Annabelle was part of that equation, and we will never know, but let the family grieve without it being a show. So I'm going to leave it there. My sources for tonight include the New Haven Register, which is nhregister.com, the Shreveport Times, shreveporttimes.com, New England Society for Psychic Research, which is tonyspera.com, our old friend Atlas Obscura, medium.com, www.raggedy-ann.com. So, Jamie, I think there's a lot of room for discussion here. Now we have our typical question of whether it's haunted or not,
Right.
but we also can ask the question, can objects be possessed? And is that different from being haunted?
Yeah, where to start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to come clean on something first. Um, you asked if I had an Andy once upon a time, and I don't recall either. But I remember this vividly. I was probably 4 or 5 years old. It was a Friday night, and there used to be family shows on in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a Raggedy Ann and Andy show, and in the process of it, Anne, Raggedy Ann, gets left behind outside in the fall, and leaves blow over her, and no one can find her. And I remember losing my shit because this poor kid, this poor doll, this poor kid didn't have a doll, and the doll was left outside. And
Uh-huh.
every time I think of Annabelle, I think of that, like, and it comes up. It's my
Uh-huh.
first memory, and strange as it is, I can't let it go. Like, it sticks to me. So, is that part of all of this? Maybe something.
Could be.
Probably not. Let's be honest. Probably not.
Probably not, but
But maybe. Um, the rest of it, though, you know, this goes back to my question. You're asking me a question. I asked a question last week. Does a
right,
place have to have a ghost to be haunted? Right.
right.
Um, and you're like, well, what does that mean? You need parameters. Well, okay, a parameter is this. It's a
Hmm.
thing that's in the home. So I guess my answer doesn't change because I still think yes. What my answer to that is no. It doesn't have to be a ghost. It could be something else. And this is why. There
Hmm.
could be something that has some attachment to it, theoretically. And you used the term, and I noted it, inhuman spirit. Well, they used it,
Right,
in the Priestley investigation. Um, and that goes to like elementals and other stuff that just doesn't have to be a human thing
right,
where we've come back from our mortal coil. So, it's tricky. And the one thing that always comes up, when we do public investigations and private stuff, are the things that we do anytime we're out there in the field. The trust factor that comes with call and response answers. We ask to tell us who you are, or give us something, and you get a reply back, whether it be through an app, an Ovilus, a device based around the Q&A that you can do, and you get an answer that it's somebody. How do
hmm
you know? How do you really truly know? And my honest answer is you don't. You have
nope,
to trust at some point that what you're getting is true. And that's your choice then to trust, right? Or
right,
not, either way. And I guess I'm trusting, so I will leave it there. But here it is, that case where it wasn't what it's claimed to be, at least for the Warrens, that this was really a demonic issue, and they got past it or stopped it just before there would have been a catastrophic issue. And how we don't know how close we may be getting to that line with things
right,
ever, because
right,
again, it's the unseen. We just don't know. There's no clock. There's no countdown somewhere for us. Um, and a lot of people, like, we just accept. There's noises in the house at night. Oh, it's just settling, or it's the HVAC, or it's the
right,
heater, or whatever. It's my dog up wandering around aimlessly, which my dog does do a lot. So checking on all of us, I guess. But it's like, how do you know that it's not something else? We just kind of push it aside, right?
right.
So what if it really is something more? Bert's comment here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I believe in possessed objects, but I think the difference may be a haunted object would be residual energy and a possessed object would be intelligent. I think I have to agree with that.
Right,
That makes sense to me.
right. And
Oh,
I know we've gotten objects that people have brought us.
mhm.
Our friend Courtney at one point brought us a handbag that she had
Yeah,
found, and I picked it up, and there was energy there. Like I could feel it. There was. I don't want to say an attachment, but there was energy that had been absorbed into that still carried through. So
right.
I think that I agree. I guess I agree with Bird here that is a residual haunting. Um, you know, so
Yeah, Linda has a really good point here. I have many attached objects. Most are children, and they are intelligent. Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. Ooh, uh, well said.
yeah, yeah.
Attached a little too closely sometimes. Um, well, there's another issue too. Another instance, sorry, not issue.
Hmm.
There was a local person here to us who contacted our team, about an object 2 years ago, maybe more by now. It's
I
time
feel
is
it's a
flying.
little longer. Yeah,
Yeah, and an object in his home that was causing all kinds, well, perceived at least, be causing all kinds of problems between himself and his relationship, and his pets, and just general ill will with this. And it was a toy. It was a clapping monkey. The symbols in hand, and
Hmm.
Um, so we offered to take it for him, and it is still in the possession of a teammate who has claimed it hasn't moved yet. So or done anything yet.
Well,
Um,
he claims that, but his office mates,
yes, and it is in an office building, not in a home at this point.
right? His office mates swear that when he's not there, they hear this thing doing its thing,
The clanging of cymbals when it
and
does.
yeah, and possibly moving around and stuff. So
Aha.
yeah,
So
who knows?
is he the calming influence then that keeps things, for lack of a better term, stable? And his absence allows it to do what it wants, or what?
It's a possibility. Yeah,
So, and how does that work then? Right? Is there favoritism of people then to objects? It's getting deep, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Maybe, right? I'll stretch that thought just to this. Let's go back to last season and Robert the Doll, our episode.
Right.
So, Gene Otto had an attachment to a doll his entire life. An attachment being it was with him all the time, and even to his marriage and his later age of life. So the doll behaved well, for lack of a better term, with him.
Mhm.
But when he was unattended, it moved about the home, it made noises. There was a tale of a workman, turning around and finding the doll in the room with him when it wasn't there when he started. So there's other elements to
Yeah,
this that are not just about Annabelle, but
right.
other. And I'm sure if we dug, and we probably wouldn't have to dig very deep. There's others
I'm
as well,
sure. Yeah. Hmm.
just aren't as high profile. Um, so it's quite interesting that this could happen because it's been documented to say it did.
Right.
And I have no reason. Again, I'm a trusting individual. I have no reason to doubt the sourcing
Right.
and the individuals because if you come forward with this stuff, you're usually laughed out of the room to people who aren't in the field,
Right.
right? That's why people don't talk about stuff.
Hmm.
And all it takes though is to find a like-minded individual or someone who is in the field, and all of a sudden you're credible and
Right.
at least understood to not be you know wonky.
Right.
So
So, and here Linda had another comment. People buy haunted objects thinking they are fun, and then things start to happen and it freaks them out. I've gotten many objects from this because people just want to get rid of them at that point. Nothing bad, but footsteps, things being moved.
sure.
Now, again, being in the field, maybe Linda has something that is causing a buffer for these objects, and like an understanding, or we know how to protect ourselves, we know how to do things like that maybe people who aren't in the field don't understand. So maybe that is one of the reasons that when we're there they're not active. I don't know, I'm just throwing out things at the wall.
Well, in this instance, in Linda's example, I think it's kind of like people who get puppies for their kids for Christmas,
Hmm.
right? They're cute, they're fun, they're adorable, they're fluffy, but then come January, they're work,
Right.
and the fun has worn off. The cool of it all has worn off, and now we're in a routine, and we have
Hmm.
to adjust. And here we are in that same kind of concept.
Right.
Where getting it seems cool, right?
Right.
But then the reality of it all sinks in, and all of a sudden the personality comes out.
Right.
As puppies grow into dogs or kittens grow into cats, whatever it is grows
Hmm.
up. Its personality starts to come out, and it may not be what you expected.
Right. You have
You
to
know,
walk it 3 or 4 times a day, and you got to
yeah,
feed it, and you got to take,
yeah. It gets
and
separation anxiety. It misses you when you're gone, and
right.
damages things when you're not. And maybe that's what this all is: separation anxiety. You leave the
Maybe.
space, spirit
Hmm.
can't go with you. Whatever it is, can't go, and therefore it's causing problems.
Right.
It's a tension.
Um, Carmela said, "No, no, no,
Yeah,
thank
no,
you."
no.
And then I hear, well, yeah, here. Um,
Yeah, Todd's comment, LOL, right, Jamie? All fun and games until the proverbial, at least, or in this case, real doo doo hits the fan with that
uh-huh.
dog or cat or
So
whatnot. So,
here's another thought. Thinking along the lines of consciousness, could it be how the energy works through potential objects, but not necessarily attached to them?
possibly like a conduit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've said this before, you've made it clear you're sensitive
Mm-hmm.
individual. You have sensitivity, and I claim that I am unsensitive, and
Right.
not saying insensitive because that's not the same thing.
Right.
But
Right.
as far as sensitivity in the paranormal field, I don't have the ability. And what I how I register the rooms we're in is different than you do.
Right.
And the spaces we are investigating at and the experiences we're having are different for me physically because of the unsensitive nature of me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I look for more of I'm evidence driven then, right? I
Right.
don't have the feeling of the room, the space. So, that could be a tie here as well if that person who has that thing, whatever it is, in their possession, and they have sensitivity, maybe they don't know they do, right? It's not
Right.
been a practiced art for them or a knowledge experience for them, then they wouldn't understand why
Right.
something's happening.
Yeah. I think they just, yeah, they don't understand what yeah, what they're experiencing.
Yeah,
So,
and therefore it becomes bad, right? Because
right.
anytime we have experience we don't understand, it's not usually pleasant. So, especially when it's paranormal.
Right. So, here's another comment from Linda. Mine are active and they have their rules living here, and they have toys to play, and they are free to come and go. But apparently, they are all happy living here.
Cool, very cool. I'm gonna hang out with you. Sounds great. Bert. Don't touch the casket. Yeah, right. Well, I missed an opportunity this weekend on Saturday. I wanted to chat with John Zaffis at the Bash, and I came by the table several times where he was, and unfortunately, every time he was engaged with somebody. Unfortunately, I guess because that's
Right.
good. That's what it's for. But why everyone was there to talk and connect and all. But every time he was, I thought he'd be available. Somebody got there right before I did, so I'm like, okay, cool. Then he had a session, one of the other rooms that was right when we were leaving. Or I was leaving, so um, you know, I've always been curious with him specifically with his museum of possessed items and how he takes things. He had a show for a couple seasons
Right.
as well, many years ago now, but he's still active and engaged in the field, and what the motivation was for him and how it all works out. You know, uh, having these things in your home. Linda, you seem to be in the same direction as John is. And your rules make sense to me now hearing that. But that was one of those. It's one of those things. I'm really very curious. What's the motivation to bring these objects home with you, these items home with you,
Hmm.
and not bury them in somebody else's backyard a couple blocks away.
Right. So, so do you? What do you think about the whole Annabelle story? Is is it paranormal? Is it a?
Hmm. Well, I'm going to say something here that's I don't know how it's going to get reacted to, but I've been to the Conjuring house,
Hmm.
and I did not, and we who were there did not get any sense that any of the things that you see in cinema have any connection to the reality of the house and the property. Um, is it active? Yeah, we had some cool stuff happen. We had some really interesting tripwire stuff in the library. We had some obelisk activity upstairs in the bedrooms. Um, is it dark and deep? Nah, I don't think so. I really don't. But we take things to Hollywood and we sensationalize them.
Hmm.
And therefore, that's the projection that people see in mass. And therefore, they believe, and fairly so, right? Because again, we'll go back to trust. You trust your source.
Right.
But you got to realize this is entertainment. And if you do any research to the subject, and we did an episode on Conjuring House,
Hmm.
back in season 1, so it's out there for everybody to see and hear. But um, I think David made a really good point back then, that Hollywood is challenging for us, in the field
Right.
because it makes everything a demon. It makes everything haunted, and and then that comes into all the other media sources, and that's how you get your 15 minutes of fame is by
Right.
sensationalizing something.
Right.
And I don't know about you, sir, but even doing this, I'm not doing it for anything more than just the research that we get to do and the cool way of presenting stuff we're interested in
Mhm.
as an outlet.
Right.
You know,
And making new friends and making connections. That's the
exactly.
best part of this. We're not,
We're all in the same boat,
yeah,
right?
we're not getting rich off this. Just the opposite, actually.
Yeah, we're getting poorer every week, right?
So,
Um, but
um, but
I,
here you have, we've often talked about, well, like when we have an investigation that you may get a little bit of activity,
yeah,
where you have a TV show, you're going to get 2 weeks worth of activity in 3 minutes.
yeah,
Here you got a movie that you've got unheard of amounts of activity that probably don't even exist.
yeah.
Like,
But it has to, right?
it has for the movie to make a profit.
Yeah.
So
One of the things that I don't watch scary movies anymore for this kind of reason. Like this is the one thing that I really did like was the first Paranormal Activity film back in the day. Very psychological. Stuff was happening in a house. Nobody really understood it. They finally decided to set up some cameras, and then in like the last 4 minutes of the movie, very much like the Blair Witch Project, which we all know is not real.
mhm.
Sorry, I just spoiled that for a generation, perhaps. But you know, at the very, very end, running around and camera shaking everywhere, and coming into the basement, and there's a dude facing the corner, and then the camera cuts off. Right,
Uh-huh.
psychological scare. The idea in the Paranormal Activity film, they threw powder on the floor, and then there's hoofed footprints walking through it, unseen, and then
Mhm.
it's the end of the movie. You're like, yeah, that's cool, but that was the last 2 or 3 or 4 minutes of the entire hour and a half film. The rest
Right.
of it was, we're not sure what's going on here, and that's the reality, right? That's how it
Right.
is everywhere. Like, what the
Yep.
heck? Is it enough to notice? Even sometimes. Going back to Annabelle's sitting around the properties that she's been in, like sitting up versus laying down. Maybe there was vibration, right? A truck could have drove by and shook
Mhm.
the house a little bit. All kinds of things could have led it to change position. And now leaving rooms and going somewhere else, okay, a lot different, right?
Mhm.
That's real physical, but just how it's sitting and now it's changed its seated position somehow. That's gravity, man, and it always wins, right?
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know how I feel there, but I just kind of get tired of the expectation that things have to happen because it's a paranormal thing, and it
Right.
just isn't on demand like that in the movies or
Right.
ever featured presentation. It's not reality for us
Yep.
and investigators in the field.
Mm. So, well, like I said, it can go up on the shelf with the Ouija boards and
We didn't have a shortage of Ouija boards
oh
to
my goodness.
acquire this weekend, did you?
And
Jeez.
there was something in one of those boards. I mean, I know we're talking about can things be possessed? There was something in one of those boards because
Yeah,
I walked by. I didn't even realize they were there, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" And I turn around and it's like, "Never mind," and I just kept walking.
yeah. Remember, I was right beside you when you said it too, and I'm like, "Yep,
Mhm.
let's keep going."
So
I tell you,
yeah,
if you wanted to buy it, it was available this weekend, the Bash,
uh-huh.
and all Paracons for that matter.
Right.
But all kinds of equipment and options
Mhm.
and
But
Ouija boards. Man,
a friend of ours found a toe tag charcuterie board.
yes, it is actually really cool though.
Yeah, it was.
It was really cool. It is
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
So should have got one. Dang it. Oh, well, maybe next year or
So,
next time.
so you think this is a good place to
What
leave
about
this?
you, sir? You asked me. What asking you? What do you think? Paranormal or not? Where you at?
The doll maybe has something. It's just like the monkey that we've talked about. There's something there. I don't know. Has it been sensationalized by the movie? Yeah. So what's that line now? You know,
Yeah.
we have we have the Warrens reports. The more the more I read,
Going back to the toe tag cheese board. Todd asked, "Does it come with toe cheese?" No,
Um,
but it does. But it does come with a side of Famunda cheese or Famunda. Sorry, Famunda cheese.
so
Ah,
um, I
that
don't
joke.
know.
Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
uh, I don't know. I think there's something there because like I said, Ed and Lorraine have documented stuff.
Right.
Of course, this is pre days of video cameras, so we don't have video evidence. I'm sure there's film somewhere. There's definitely a lot of pictures of things, but I don't know. I just I want to say that there's something there. So there, I guess that means that I'm saying yes. There's some paranormal tied to it. Um, can objects be possessed? Mm,
You're on camera.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think again, now we got to define possession. It's like what are the lines? And yeah,
Look,
I think
let's not go deep on this.
yeah,
Like, your answer for the does a house or does a place need a ghost behind it? You're like, well, it's conditional. Like,
right,
there's got to be parameters on the
right.
question. Like, no, let's not do that. Let's just
So
answer the question.
can things have an attachment? Sure. Can they be? Can an object be possessed? I don't think it can be. So
I have to agree. And
so
actually, so does Bert. He says, I say haunted, maybe possessed. Don't think so. I can't argue with that.
well, that sounds like a great way to wrap it up. So
Woo.
um, I do want to mention we talked about Dan Rivera a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
His family is definitely struggling. There is a GoFundMe out there if you're interested in that. Reach out to us. We can get you hooked up with it, or you can find it. It's easy to find. But um,
GoFundMe.com lists all the options and available funds
so
as well.
but so yeah, he was a good man who did a lot of good work in this field. So
Sure did.
he will be missed.
Exactly.
So on that note, Jamie, should we move on to what's coming up?
Yeah. I wore my reading glasses just for this moment.
All right.
All right. So next week I am going to discuss Savannah, Georgia, which has a claim to be America's most haunted city, and I have a question mark here on that. So we'll divulge what they have and dig into a lot more, and we'll let you guys decide. We just did New Orleans not too long ago, back in the um, late winter, early spring. So they have a claim to be America's most haunted city as well. So um, that's a fun challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out which one. Then after that, week after on the 12th, Chad's going to dig into the Saratoga County Homestead, which I know absolutely nothing about. I'm looking forward to that one.
Okay.
Week after, the Ancient Ram Inn over in the UK. Week after on the 26th, the Haunts and History of Ford's Theater, where President Lincoln was assassinated. Some activity there. And September 2nd, I'm going to go to the Paris catacombs. And underneath the city of Paris, there is a lot of spooky stuff going on. And September 9th, Chad's going to discuss the ghosts of China's Forbidden City. So some cool stuff
Do
coming
you
up.
know why I'm doing that in September?
No. I had a moment there. I thought it might, but no.
You put it on our schedule. It's Chinese Ghost
Oh,
Month,
yeah,
or September is Ghost Month in China.
that's right. Thank
So
you.
I had to sneak one in there for China. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
So
And this episode is terror free. So
yeah.
so far.
So let's see. That's what we're doing. What's the team doing?
Yeah, so August 16th, we have a public investigation at Booby's Brewery, Mount Joy, PA, our home base. Also, September 27th, October 11th, October 18th, November 8th, and December 6th to wrap up the rest of the year. So there's 6 investigations left on our calendar if you're interested in coming into Booby's Brewery. Mount Joy is more fun when you stay over, right, Chad?
Yep.
Yeah. So there
August
is option
16th.
for that.
Yeah, August 16th is, I think we're down into the teens with tickets left.
Yep, they're starting
So
to go. And
they're
we're coming off a sold out event. So um, keep in mind that spooky season is September, October, and maybe that first week in November still. So
mm-hmm.
those tickets won't wait long.
Yep.
So
And that August one's a great weekend that leads right into somebody's birthday.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's
not
true.
yours.
It's not. I know it's not mine. I know it's yours.
Um,
Yeah, it's that's how it all started here, sir.
It
So
is. Yep.
a couple years ago. Yep. Worst birthday present I've ever gotten anybody. Um,
Best one I've ever gotten.
for those who don't recall this story, I got Chad a ticket to one of our events several years ago for his birthday, and he never stopped coming. So this is proof that perseverance does pay off. And
Hmm.
follow something, whatever it is that you're interested in, follow it through and see what happens. It can take you places.
Yep.
Very cool. Glad you're here.
Me too. So
All right. And then the socials and stuff, we're here tonight live, and this is obviously very live.
we're
Our
sorry.
Facebook and YouTube channels, but we're beyond the streaming services. Come tomorrow afternoon and forever after. But all of the stuff that we offer, with social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff, is found at Linktree, which is linktr.ee/paranormal lens. And there's lots of cool stuff out there. So uh, give us a look, give us a
Hmm.
like, give us a follow. Um, let's see where this journey takes us all together.
Hmm.
So
So, Jamie, I'm going to be working on getting the season 2 T-shirts up on
yeah, it's
the
time.
store, which is available through Linktree.
Yep, that's there as well. So I
So,
haven't seen this yet, so I'm really excited. I was just going to talk to you about that offline, getting that together. So you're already on it,
yep.
like usual. Make the magic happen.
Well, sometimes. So
Well,
anyway,
there's some merch out there as well. So feel free to wear us everywhere you go.
yep.
Carry a
So,
little piece of us with you.
well, Jamie, any parting thoughts tonight?
I don't. It's been a blurry weekend leading into this with all of the fun we did with Bash and our event, and it's just all blurring together. So I need a little time to process everything, and maybe
Hmm.
later. But the loss of Jay today, it's just, man, wow.
Yeah.
So no, my comment is thanks everybody for sticking with us and hanging out with us for almost a full hour once again. And look forward to seeing everyone next week.
Yep. And until then, stay alert, stay respectful, and stay curious. Good night, everybody.